principally looking at the admin tool. And that you get by going to the Tools menu. And then those who have administrative privileges get the admin tool. And there are several tabs across the top. The organization name, Carolyn, I believe, is going to be managing all the organization names, so you won't need to do anything there. But at some point in the future, you may find that there are sub names that you want to create. Instead of the CTAX network, there's CTAX network for, I don't know, pick a city, or I'm not sure how you're organized, but you would then create an additional sub-organization associated with that. The second level are the IOIs. IOI means item of interest, and that's because these can be bad things like an incident, it can be a good thing like a parade, or it can be an infrastructure like a school or hospital or nursing home. So this is a set of terms that lead to a drop-down list that help you to create these items of interest. And Carolyn has inserted most of these for now. And at one point I heard there was a list of 43 different kinds of incidents or something like that. That's the kind of thing that you'll be looking at for putting into this area. But that's something that I'm understanding is a group decision that'll be made and managed by ACS. Then there are project features. This will happen only one time. And again, this is an ACS management tool. Over here on the My Status, and again, we're looking at the web application on the right-hand side and the mobile app on the left-hand side. I click on the My Status. You see these different names here, and this represents the status of the individual. And that can be anything that you want. You can see we got a no status and not available, special condition. You can say, gee, I only want 3 of these. I don't want the blue button, so you can disable the blue button. Or you can create a new word under your yellow button that says sort of available. That's going to be ACS wide, so there will be some agreement that needs to be made associated with that, and that'll be handled by Carolyn. User administration is something that as an administrator you may be called upon to do. Users can change their own passwords, but if somebody loses their password and you need to create a new one, all the people will be listed in here. You simply go in and find Carolyn. If I were to put in new passwords, I would overwrite her password with this secondary password that she could then go back in once she gets back in, having remembered this new password, and change it again. So this is where you can put in password of today. And then finally, profile administration. Again, this I believe is going to be an organization-wide setup, although it doesn't need to be. What this does is when, and I'll come over here to the mobile app to illustrate it, what it does is show me information about the people who are involved. So if I click on this one, that's Jim Morentz, and I'm part of the ACS team. It gives my last activity time, email, phone, and my status that we just saw. These are tabs that provide additional information if they're filled out in the profile, and you can build these tabs. My guess is this is going to be built ACS wide. It doesn't have to be, because you could build your own tab just for your own community, because while everyone else might see that tab, if they don't fill it out, they'll never see the information show up. So I could have an ACS wide tab that says this is the information we want to have, and then here's a Texas tab, and everybody in Texas wants to have this information, and people who are in Oklahoma would have an Oklahoma tab, but Texas people wouldn't fill out Oklahoma, Oklahoma wouldn't fill out Texas, and if you don't fill it out, it doesn't show up on the left-hand side. So that's the way we build a profile for the person that can have their skills and their current activities, driver's license, their ability to drive large vehicles, whatever it is you want to have. I've got a number of examples of this, but I'm sure someplace you have information about what you want to know about your people. So we've got organizations, the items of interest, how you want to build the specific information on the My Status, administering users when they lose their password, and the profile administration are really the key elements of being an administrator. Any questions on that? All right, well, let's take a look at adding people now. And when you add people and they're online, they show up. We've got the mobile app over here. This was me on this side as Jim Barentz. And when I'm out on the mobile app, and this is somebody else's mobile app, I show up as a blue dot because I am part of, or a blue person because I'm part of the ACS organization. You notice you pick different organizations. The color of the person's base changes. So let's add some people there. And you all want to do this while we're together? Sure. That sounds like a. If you want to, you're going to go to https://app.spotonresponse.com. I think if you have the admin guide open and you click on that, it does in fact work to get you right to this screen. Let me pause for a second there if anybody's going to do that. And you're then going to click on this, click here to register for access. And doing that, it asks you for a project code. The project code determines the level of permissions that a person has. An administrator may read, write, modify, and delete all information. There should only be a few of you who are doing that. An operator may read, write, modify, and delete only their information. So they can see everything, but they're only going to mess up the stuff that they've done in there. So that's a very good way to protect against people fooling around with the system, I guess I would say. A user is read-only. There's no create, no delete. All they can do is see the information that is there. So giving access is something that there are two different ways that we're seeing people do it. Some folks say, hey, I know my team. They're not going to do anything other than use this. So I give them the ACS OPER code to use. Other people say, gee, I don't want that code floating around. So what I'm going to do is have somebody enter that information with a password that says replace this password or whatever you want it to say. Send it out to the people saying this is your username and your password, and they then go in and change their password. So it can either be protected or given out. That's entirely up to you. So in this case, I've added ACS OPER. So I'm going to have read, write, modify, delete for only things that I do. Click on check code. And now you've got a username. I'm going to, yes, please. No. If it's just called a user, they cannot post anything. So the operator is really the one that you want to use. You're going to have, you might, for every county or user, you might have an administrator, you're going to have 100 operators. And rarely you're going to have users. We've really created the user as something that you might want to publish out on a website for people to be able to see things but not interact with the system really. So I'm calling this person ACS Tom as my username. Oh, that one's in use. All right. There's an illustration. If it's in use, it'll tell you. So I now want to clean that. Come back here. All right. So I'll call this ACS. I'm just putting ACS in front of it because I'm dealing with 50 different logins, and it's the login that takes me to the place that I want to go. So now I always know when I want to come in and do a training with you, I know that I have an ACS Richard there. Enter a password. You then have an area of interest. This can be changed. Anything in here can be changed in the profile after it happens. But the area of interest is the area on the map that will restrict the information that you're going to see. So you can put 3,000 miles on here and see anything that's happening in the ACS group across the country. Or you restrict it to 50 miles because that's how big your county is, or 200 miles because it's an area. So at this point, I'm going to make it a couple hundred. And the organization, you then have a list here of all the various organizations, and I'll become the S-Brand network for this person. And register. It tells me I have successfully registered. Click OK. And I can now come in here and type ACS Richard. And I'm going to show up. Now what you're going to see, if any of you are following along, is that when you come in, you are going to be located at your GPS location, or if you're on a network, your network location. And in my case, I'm here in Bethesda, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. What we want to do, and that's 90% of the time, is the way it's going to be. But if you want to participate in an exercise or enter some information that isn't right where you are, you're going to use this function. But before I get there, let me make sure anybody who has decided to follow along and add yourself as a user, are you in? Do you have any questions? Yes. There's a profile report that you see all the users who are there. It currently does not have the user access in it. When we had our questions last night, and going back and forth about what that your C# person or C minor person was, I realized that we don't include the user access level in there. So I put in a request to do that. I put in a request to do that now. So at some point in the not distant future, you'll be able to see that. But right now, it remains a mystery. Yep. Yeah. Good question. Problem registering you. And here I am. Uh, did did you was that was that after you filled out the form or before? Ah, boy, we've been through that most of the time. Tell you what, how about if I exit from here and let's. Oh, and the password? Did you say? Ah, all right. I'll make a note of that. Okay. All right, then let's go back here and no, ACS. All right, so now we're back. We got a couple folks in, and let's see. We do have Gary down there, so you can now see that Gary's located in Texas, and that other person that we added before, he's still over here in Maryland. Now, what I want to do now is shut. Actually, let's leave him over there for right now. So that location, by the way, is updated every 30 seconds. And let's see, do we have Carolyn here? Nope, that's Joe Abrams. He's in there. So we got a few folks floating around right now. So we got people in here. Now let's turn our attention to creating the items of interest and how we manage those. So, where am I? Let's get rid of this over here. An item of interest is created in a couple of different ways. The principal way is through the green plus. A shortcut way is through the spot report. But we're going to deal with the green plus now, and we'll touch on the spot report right at the end. So green plus, I am going to create a item of interest wherever I am. Because again, this is a mobile app, so it's always thinking that you're out there doing whatever you want to do. I'll show you the set location that allows you to move that item of interest around. But for now, I'm here. I'm going to come in here and I have my create form for the item of interest. And that list that we saw earlier, and I'm going to make this a flood. And it's going to be, don't know any names there, so Big Creek is overtopping. And I can put any description in here. I can create a status should I choose. I can have a reason, and it's heavy rain. If there's an activity taking place, there's a disposition choice. You don't have to fill anything in if you don't want to. And let's just do this one first of all as an incident like that. And I'm simply going to save changes. And we'll see in a second. That's going to pop up here, and we've got a incident. That's the big creek is overtopping. And if I come back in here, we see I've got that little flood icon that has popped up there. And now, just so that we get icons spread around a few places, I'm now going to show you how we set a location. Simply go into the Tools menu, Set Location. Your location pops up, and I'm now just going to move him down here. So you can see I can move the person around anywhere. If I want to enter an address and go to someplace specific, I type it down here at the bottom. Click Lookup, which will then change the latitude and longitude, and I can set the location. Or if somebody says, hey, I'm at this latitude and longitude coordinate, I can type that in there as well. So right now I'm just going to leave my person right over there, set my location, and that's just as though I had driven over to that location. Ah, good point. If you go up to your profile, when you set your profile, it was probably for a couple 100 miles. So let's go into the area of interest and set it for 1,500 miles. And now you should be able to see Kansas City. Yes. Under the Tools menu, first one is Profile. And then change your area of interest. Yes, good, Carolyn. I should have pointed that out. This is that set of tabs of the profile that we talked about before. And Carolyn has added 2 of them. And this is also where you change your password. Yep. Okay, so now we should have a big picture where we've got Gary down there, and you can now see all of us up here and what we're doing in Kansas City. And Gary, if you want to do anything while following along, create an incident or anything like that, go right ahead and just let us know. We'll take a look. Okay. All right, good. All right, so that's a plain old incident right there. You see a couple of things. We'll get to that later. Plain old incident located right there. If I click on that icon, I get Big Creek is overtopping. It's an incident flood, and I type the description there, and it's because of heavy rain. If I'm at this particular location and I want to get to that, click on Details and Directions, and I'm going to get the mapping directions on how to get to that particular location. If I want to have written directions, I've got directions up in the upper right-hand corner. Click on those, and it gives me the turn-by-turn directions. So that's a basic incident. And now we're going to go do a couple of other things. I'm going to add a second incident over here. And let's call whoops, hit the green plus. This one, let's make this one a power outage. And it's Kansas Utility, we'll call it, is and has a 2-mile outage, something like that. But now a power outage is probably better represented by an area than by a point. So this item down here, Add Shapes. If I click on that, it's going to bring up for me the area that we're in and be able to say, okay, that power outage actually is going to affect this area over here. And I'm going to click on either the circle or a shape, a line, or an area. So let's click on a shape, and the power outage is going to cover this area here. Last one, you do a double click. It fills in the shape. I can change the color up in the upper right hand corner, or I can delete that shape. But in this case, I'm just going to say save. And now I'm going to save those changes down at the bottom. And in a second, we're going to pop up, and I have no idea where that was since I wasn't paying attention to what we did, but we should have. Yep, there we go. That power outage is partly because of the flood, perhaps. Little icon that shows up in the top, that's going to give me the information about the Kansas utility power outage. So I've got that part going on. Now I'm going to do one more over here to give you another illustration of the way you can build. We'll do two more actually. This one is, let's pick a different one here, and let's call it multi-hazard for one of anything else. And the subject is going to be utility and flood. And again, description. Yes. Yeah. No, it does not. That's something we've had on the list for a while. If you enter the latitude and longitude in there, it moves the location, but not if you change the address. Yes, this is dynamically looked. The address is dynamically looked up, and one of these days we'll change it to be the other way around. But for right now, your position or the latitude and longitude. All right. I'm sorry. Say that again. Radius. Just don't think about it. It's a complicated thing in the GIS world. So if we just leave it there, it'll be fine. So the next, we've got two buttons down at the bottom. The first one we save changes. Second one is to save change and add an update. So I'm going to do that with this utility. Yes. Yep. Only an administrator can change somebody else's information. Yes. It's recentered. Oh, okay. Yeah, because it recenters on where you are. A little bit unusual to be dealing with the 1,500-mile area of interest, so that you generally don't see that when you're dealing with a county-wide area. But yes, it recenters on where you are. Okay, so we did just add another utility over here, or another item over there. I'm going to say okay. And it then automatically takes me to the update. For every one of those items of interest, you're going to want to build updates, keep information current on it. And this is where we create the update. And there are 4 different kinds of updates. There's an observation that is a dynamic thing that people are going to be doing all the time. Plan is generally going to be used more for an infrastructure. So it's a school plan or it's a dam safety plan. Resources can be those that are either requested, received, available, or committed. So those can be both out at the scene where you might request a resource, as well as back at a warehouse where you might be committing resources. And then finally, GIS, which is overlay data. And we'll take a look at some that I've already put on this site. But that's when you have your people give GIS data that's either in a KML, GeoJSON, or a GORSS format. So for now, I'm going to do an observation. And the observation is this was the utility and flood, and I'm going to say houses are affected. And my observation is Smithville neighborhood being inundated. And some additional categories down here. Now, there are 2 different things down at the bottom here. One says use the current device location, which means if I've driven into this area, and you saw that area with the point in the center, if I've driven into that area, I'm somewhere where there, I want to use where my location is, I'm going to leave it at the default, which is the use current device location. If for some reason I say, I'm not where I'm seeing this, I'm looking half a mile down the road where that fire is actually taking place, you then click to use the IOI location, and this update will be located half a mile down the road where the fire is. So it allows you to, again, sort of create this artificial world out there. At this point, if I were on my mobile device, I could click camera or video and do that. Since I'm on the computer, I'm going to click to choose a file. And let's go back up here to some, and I'm going to go, let me grab, just looking for a picture here. No pictures? Oh, wait a second. What's this custom file? All files. Jeez. All right, there we go. So I'm going to take this as a picture just for an example and submit that. So that landslide picture, which is now associated with that, has been uploaded. It tells me my information is all there. And now anybody else who comes in here and looks at this utility and flood sees the area around the flood, and it sees this observation. I click on the observation, tells me there are houses affected, and over on the right-hand side, I've got a picture, and there's that landslide that was a cause because of that flood. Now we did that by creating that IOI and then adding the update. But in general, that's not going to... Oops, say that again. Do you get the flood, utility and flood like I'm showing here? In this. Blue arrow in the upper right.
see what the problem is. I don't even see the utility.
You are saying the other things in Kansas City?
No, I don't see Kansas utility. It's way down for some reason.
Okay, there's a good point. Sorry, I should have made that earlier. Left-hand corner here, down at the bottom, you've got a D. That's distance. So this one is 0 feet from me. This was 6 miles from me. This one's 15 miles from me. So the utility and flood is probably 1,500 miles or some 100 miles from you. As an alternative, if you click on the D, it changes this into an alphabetical sort. So different ways to look at the data, either from distance from where you are or in an alphabetical list. But you do now have the utility and flood? Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm over here, and over here we've got this school problem that's going on. And that happens to be a active shooter drill. And it's closed, but I'm not going to do that one since it's closed. I'm going to come over here to, what do we have? This fire down here where Joe is. Joe created a fire. So I'm going to go to that fire, apartment complex fire. So it now gives me those driving directions. I'm sorry, say that again? Is there a way to hide the closed event? Yes. Close our IOI. Yep. I'll get to that one. Hold that question for a little bit. So I came down here to this apartment complex fire, and I'm going to participate in or observe it or something. So let's say I want to participate in that. Here's where I can check in. I'm going to say I'm going to become part of responding to that fire. Check into that. It says I made part of the team. And now anybody else who, the next time anybody else looks at this apartment fire and clicks on resources, they see that both Cindy Sharp and Jim Morentz are part of this team. So I have some information that I want to share about that fire. So I'm going to come in here to the pencil, click on Update, and now I get that same form that we saw earlier that I did right after I did the IOI. I used this form to add the picture. Well, now I'm coming in hours later and saying, hey, I have something about this. I'll tell you what it is. Let's make it a plan. And this is going to be a floor plan. Floor plan to Wing A of that school. And this is from school board. And here's a case where, if you remember, I was located miles away from here where the school board's located. So this is a case where I don't want to use the current device location. I want to use the IOI location. So this will now be located at the same place as this apartment complex. I'm going to choose to pick a file. And we're going to pick a floor plan here. And grab this one. Oh, where we go. Let's take the Meadowwood floor and submit that. So that's now been shared. Now, anybody who goes to the apartment complex fire and says, what's going on, is going to see that plan, which is a floor plan to Wing A. They click on that, and here's the floor plan coming up. So, school board's able to share that, people. That's, if you're using a mobile device, that's out on your mobile device right now. As a matter of fact, let's prove that point. That is my apartment complex fire. Click on that. I've got my observations and plans and other things that are about to appear. Click on my plan. Click on that floor plan. Yes, it is. The cell phone's on the left-hand side and the browser on the right-hand side. If you have, depends which cell phone, but if you have a Samsung Android, it's called SideSync. SideSync, SideSync. And it's a free app available from Samsung.
James, that's interesting because I have an Android, and I type in those SpotOnResponse all in one word and you find your app. That's what I'm trying to find. SpotOnResponse, all one word?
Yes, it is.
All one word, yeah. Okay, that's what I was looking for, the actual app itself.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No problem. Okay, that's all. I got enough.
All right. So, we've taken a look at how you build users, how you build the information that's associated with it, and I'm going to do one last thing, and that is to point out, actually, let me move to a different location here. Let's see. Let's see whether, yeah, I can find the, tells me maybe I've got the City Hall. So I now want to build an infrastructure record, and I'm going to do, for want of a better thing, the Kansas City City Hall, and we don't have anything here. Actually, I'm going to just bear with me 1 minute. I'm going to come in here to the admin tool. I'm going to add an IOI type of infrastructure. Hit the checkbox. It resorts. You've got infrastructure. Blue arrow takes you back. And now, when I come in here, I'm going to make this infrastructure, and it's going to be or some such thing like that. And when you grow the system a little bit further and you begin sharing information with others, every time you send an incident out, it can get shared out through Exchange Core, which is another topic of discussion, and can get shared to other people who aren't part of your system. In order to keep things permanently, and I'll explain that in a second, you want to click the infrastructure. Little checkbox and just save changes. So when you're building schools or hospitals, city hall, dams or bridges or anything like that, you're going to want to have that. And here's a little icon that popped up there that shows where the city hall is. So that infrastructure one is important because when you want to close things down and get rid of past emergencies and stuff like that, you don't want to lose your infrastructure. So putting that check mark is important. So multiple different kinds of things that you put onto your map. And now let me go back to Carolyn's question a minute ago, because we're finished with this active shooter drill up there. That's what this up here in the map layers, this helps me structure what I see on the map. For example, if I want to get rid of, let's say I don't want to see where people are, I got a choice up here, my people and assets, turn it off and that person disappeared. Click it and they show back up again at the next cycle. There we go. All right. So to get rid of that closed or to only look at floods or something like that, you turn on filters, click edit, and now you have two different levels of filtering. One is this IOI type that we had before. So if I wanted to pick out all the infrastructure, I would type infrastructure in here. Add that. And what you're going to see down at the bottom and on the map, close that up, is you have only the things that were labeled as infrastructure, and you've gotten rid of everything else except for this polygon over there. You got rid of the icon, but the polygon stays. So that's one level of ability to filter information. If I uncheck that, we're going to get all our data back. So I've got all my data there with the closed. Now, if I want to get rid of all of my closed items, I use this Boolean not. Click on closed, and you'll see this active shooter drill disappears, so you only have active incidents going on and being shown on your map. So that's gone, and whatever the icon that was up here is also gone. So this filter is a very powerful way to figure things out, and I'll come back to it one more time. The top one does the IOI type. Second one goes in and it does a filter of any of these words that would appear in the name field, anywhere in the description, the reason, the disposition, or you can even go in and say, I only want to see things that occurred yesterday, and be able to only see activities that were yesterday. So that pretty much fills our hour, and I think finishes up everything that I would want to say about adding information into the map and being able to filter it and look. I'll do one last thing, and that's these GIS layers. I put a selection of them in. There's nationwide air quality monitoring, so if you want to see that in your state, you're going to see that come popping up here in a second. There are a few of them there. There's my air quality monitoring across the country. I threw in some earthquakes here, since those are happening in places that we didn't used to expect. This is the last day, every 1.1 earthquake that occurred, and here's the other choice for the 2.2 higher level earthquakes, and mostly those happen in California. Using satellite fire detection. These have been all the fires detected in across the country in the last 24 hours. And let's see, what else do we have in here? High-risk fire areas. So if you have, yeah, got some places out there. These are high-risk fire areas by county, I believe they are. And what's the last one there? Oh, National Weather Service. Turn those off. These are National Weather Service. They have both flood, tornado, and coastal erosion for those of you down the Texas coast. But here we've got some flood warning at these levels. So those are ones that we commonly sort of start a system with. You can add these yourself. And actually, let me just illustrate. As you zoom in here, these are actually showing the area of the flood warning. So lots more of that GIS information out there. These are some good starters. You can find it yourself. You can shoot me a note saying we'd love to see this because we have some other sources that are out there. So any final questions?
After you have an exercise, what is the process? Does the system clean itself after so long, or is there a way to go in and delete as an administrator information that was around the exercise to the area, or what do you do?
The original philosophy was that it's sort of like a computer-aided dispatch. You got an operator who owns that incident. When it's closed, they close it out and delete it. Just recently, as we've started to have these multi-jurisdictional operations where somebody might create an exercise that somebody else, and they don't want to use it or they want to archive it. So we're taking a look at a administrative utility that says go in and check off these things or get rid of everything that isn't infrastructure or something like that. But right now, in order to get rid of an incident, you get rid of the incident by coming in here, click on that Kansas utility, and come up here to the edit and delete it. And I won't, oh yeah, I'll do that right now. So that deletes it and all the incidents that are under it. So for the present time, that's the way to do it. If we start to see more demand for an administrative level, large scale delete, we'll add that in.
Okay. All right then. That answered my question. Anybody else? That's it, Jim.
All right, good. Well, good to talk to you, and happy to do this with you again if you'd like. And I will. I'll publish this little training section up on the SpotOnResponse YouTube at some point in the next day or so. So you can point other people to it. All right. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
God damn, I didn't.